Hi guys, in this episode of Plummies Thoughts On, I'm gonna be sharing my thoughts on the fourth episode of the first and probably only season of Tales of the Walking Dead. And as you can probably already recognize, it's been quite a while since the last time I did a review of a Tales of the Walking Dead episode. In fact, at the point in time at which I'm recording this video, I've already seen the finale for The Walking Dead, and it's also been like a month, maybe even like almost two, since that happened. And it's honestly been good to be back in The Walking Dead because I've been missing it, and I've honestly had a little bit of an urge to rewatch it now that it's over, but I'm gonna keep it for a couple of years down the line when I want to cover it on the channel properly, so I'm not gonna rewatch it until then. But getting back into this, it was actually very fitting to get into it with episode 4, which was Amy and Dr. Everett. That's what it was called, or what the name that I personally named the episode, because like I've said in the previous reviews for this show, I think it was very lame to just name the episodes after characters. Like, really? It shows that they really didn't really give a shit about this show much. But my personal name for this episode is Solitude, because that's the main focus of this episode, at least when it comes to the main character of this episode, who I actually enjoyed quite a lot. But like I said, it was very fitting to be starting off the watch through for the final 3 episodes of this show right now, because I was missing The Walking Dead, and this episode out of the 3 felt the most like The Walking Dead, and it was the only episode that actually warrants being part of the Walking Dead universe. Because, and I know I'm not the only one saying this when it comes to Tales of the Walking Dead, but there's hardly a reason to call this show Tales of the Walking Dead. It barely connects to The Walking Dead. The only times where it actually warrants calling it The Walking Dead or Tales of the Walking Dead is for the Alpha episode and this one, because those are the only ones who actually use zombies in a meaningful manner, you know, and actually feel like part of the universe. The other ones don't. And that is not to say that the other episodes are bad, but that I would have preferred for AMC to make a completely unrelated horror anthology series. Hell, they could have even fucking connected it in like a post-apocalyptic manner, similarly to what they've done with Tales of the Walking Dead if they wanted to, but there was really no reason to call it Tales of the Walking Dead, really. Especially for the final episode of this show, which I can't wait to get to reviewing, because I have a lot of things to say about that one. But yeah, getting into this one in particular, it was a little boring at first. It took me a little bit to really kind of get into, and I'm not gonna lie, I really didn't enjoy the Asian lady. She was not badly acted, but the personality of her character was really annoying. She just couldn't like accept a different point of view. She constantly harassed and constantly like criticized the point of view that the scientist in this episode had, which it's not necessarily a wrong thing to do, but I feel like she kind of did it in a very disrespectful manner. Like, she did not acknowledge viewpoints outside of her own, and then potentially by the end of the episode it might have turned out that she was a liar as well, so there's that. But I personally really found her annoying, and unsurprisingly found myself relating to this guy, Dr. Everett. He was really interesting. I liked his kind of like personality. I saw some people on the subreddit for The Walking Dead speculating whether he has some mental thing like Asperger, ADHD, or something like that. Because he did kind of feel like he might have, because he had that manner of speaking that Eugene had. And that also is something that I relate to as somebody who almost definitely has Asperger. It's not diagnosed for several reasons. Because I can't get it diagnosed. I kind of don't want to, because it might prevent me from transitioning. and it's just kind of frowned upon in my country to go to a psychiatrist or psychologist or whatever you want to call it. But I most likely have either Asperger or ADHD, but I'm almost sure that it's Asperger. So that was definitely enjoyable. I liked his little cabin that he had in the middle of the forest. That is kind of something that I definitely thought about when it comes to my own zombie story. That inside, that it's on Wattpad. I don't really write much nowadays. I'm too focused on my YouTube channel at the moment, but I've had ideas, and one of the ideas that I've had that I still might employ in the future is having a bunch of tree houses as a community, and this kind of reminds me of that. And it's a cool way to survive in the zombie apocalypse. And also, seeing him survive like this on his own in the zombie apocalypse and not be part of a community kind of makes me want to bring up something that I have as a bit of a criticism for the Walking Dead universe. 10 years into the zombie apocalypse, you cannot have people just randomly surviving out there. I'm not talking about the characters in this show in particular. In the case of in this episode. In the case of this episode, everybody felt like actual survivors in the zombie apocalypse who were surviving and were parts of communities or whatever, and not like just random people who are still dealing with the fallout of the outbreak. I feel like The Walking Dead never really realized that they had to move on from the random characters that appear occasionally that are still dealing with the fallout. Like, it's not 3 months after the zombie apocalypse began anymore. It's been 10 years. You can't have random characters who are not part of a community anymore happen to show up. Because most people in the zombie apocalypse in The Walking Dead, 10 years in, hell, even like 4, 5, 6 years in, at that point in time, you're either dead, you're a zombie, you're in a community, or you are capable and open and are interested in living on your own. You cannot just be a random survivor. That kind of shit bothered me in like season 10 of the main show when Negan met that random boy and his mom in that bus. Like, it doesn't make any sense for them to still be surviving like that. And I guess you could make the argument that their community got destroyed or whatever. But what community? Literally, in the location where they are, it's only Alexandria, Hilltop, and Kingdom and Oceanside or whatever. They would be from one of those communities, not just random survivors. And they very much did that even in season 11, which is really annoying. And Fear the Walking Dead does the same shit. In like season 6, we had these survivors in a building, which 3 years in, they wouldn't be. So, having this guy in this episode living on his own willingly and happily kind of just made me realize how much that pisses me off. Even though I'm pretty sure I voiced this criticism before, but regardless. There's not really much to say about this episode. I feel like it didn't really have much of a story. I kind of get what it was telling me, but like a lot of the episodes in this show so far, it just feels like the first episode of a mini-series or a series that just doesn't feel finished. It feels like it leaves me on a cliffhanger, but we're clearly not getting more episodes, so why bother, Because, like, what's the story of this episode? This Asian girl is struggling against zombies and meets this scientist guy who is studying the Homo mortis. That's what he calls the dead. And they kind of, like, even if you try to write like an interesting story, you would try to, I get like you would try to kind of team them up and have them both learn something from each other and be an unlikely duo or whatever. I feel like that's the logical progression and what I would have expected a proper Tales of the Walking Dead series to do. But this is not a proper Tales of the Walking Dead series. This is just somebody's indie art project thrown into the Walking Dead for some reason. So yeah, it was kind of boring. It was just meandering for a lot of it. Though it wasn't as bad as the next episode. Boy, am I gonna have some things to say about that one. Um, and honestly, the only part of it that was actually interesting to me was anything that had to do with the scientist, Dr. Everett, and not any part that didn't feature the Asian lady because she just wasn't entertaining to watch. She was just annoying. She was constantly asking stupid questions and just bothering me, and I hated her. And then at the end, she died, and I honestly was pretty happy with that. She kind of fucking deserved that. So yeah, there's not necessarily much to say, so let's just get into the notes that I have for the episode that I wrote down. So, first note that I wrote down is, man, some walkers look like aliens. And that is in reference to one of the first shots in the episode when we hear Dr. Everett kind of monologue over some drone footage of walkers and stuff. And some of the looks of the walkers in that scene were really freaky. Like, I don't know if it was CGI or if it was prosthetics and stuff, but some of their faces looked really, really like a lot of their face actually still moved and wasn't like dead. I don't know, it just felt very weird and uncanny, and I kind of dig it. The next thing that I've written down is this feels like an indie zombie movie. And that is in reference to the fact that as I started watching this episode, I didn't feel like I was watching The Walking Dead. I felt as if I was just sitting down and watching a random horror movie about zombies, because back before I started my YouTube channel, and even as I started my YouTube channel, I've been getting into movies more, because before that I only watched whatever was on TV. But then around 2017 and 2018 I started to go out of my way to look for movies to watch. So I've watched 28 Days Later, I've watched Train to Busan, I've watched World War Z, and getting into this episode kind of made me reminisce about the times when I did that. That's in what sense it felt like an indie zombie movie. And I guess also that it just looks like it's shot like an indie zombie movie that somebody would release on Netflix. The next thing I've written down is I love the insect ambience. And that is in reference to the fact that unlike most of even the rest of the episode or the other episodes or any of the Walking Dead shows, or at least mainly the Walking Dead in recent years, it had the OG insect ambience where you can see just like cicadas in the background or just any kind of insect and birds, and it made the world feel alive. Like, think of like season 3 The Walking Dead or season 4. You can hear this really distinct insect sound in your head. At least I do every time I think about it. Just go and look up any scene from at least season 3 on YouTube, and you can hear those sounds. And I really miss that in The Walking Dead, because it really made it feel very grounded and realistic. And I feel like it got so melodramatic in later seasons because they kind of stopped using that kind of ambience and instead just had music all the time, which is not necessary. I'm personally the kind of person who prefers music to enhance scenes, which means that only the important scenes should really have music, while the other ones should either have none or basically none, and you should try to find other ambience to fill the space with, you know? The next thing I've written is, this looks and feels like a fucking movie, which I already kind of explained what I mean by that, so let's just continue. The next thing I've written is, how are there people in need of help 20 years into the future? And it's not said how far into the zombie apocalypse this episode is, but it was said in interviews that one of the episodes of Tales of the Walking Dead was set further into the future, and it seems like it's this one, based on the fact that the Asian chick who interrupts and pokes her head where she shouldn't. Talks about a dead sector and a giant, like, trench that was dug around a sector where the zombies are, which makes me think that this is probably like years down the line when humans in the USA, at least to a certain extent, have been able to like reclaim uh, some of the lands, and the lands that they have not been able to reclaim, they've just kind of dug a trench around, which is not a bad idea, honestly, and I kind of like that kind of world building. I'm open to that. Now that we're done with The Walking Dead, we have more freedom to build towards the future, and if AMC wants to make this a franchise, they should continue with this kind of world building going forward. I'm into that shit. I'm always curious to see the logical conclusion for franchises that usually don't necessarily get one. Like, I always love legacy stuff and future stuff and seeing where things lead, you know? So I'm open to hear more about the future of the Walking Dead universe. But yeah, that's also kind of harkening back to the criticism that I talked about people, the fact that there shouldn't be people randomly in need of help in the zombie apocalypse like 10, 20 years down the line. Which I guess now brings me back to the main show, but instead of talking like for things that happen in it, I'm going to talk about something that didn't happen. Because I assume some of you have seen the pictures of what was supposed to be the finale at a certain point, or the ending scene of the main show, with a bunch of the kids all grown up going into Atlanta to save people. It's a good thing that ending got scrapped, because it doesn't make a fucking sense 25 years into the zombie apocalypse for there to be people in Atlanta still surviving. Like I said, at that point, you're either dead in a community or you're happy being on your own. There's no way you're just surviving 25 years. I feel like past like the third year or fourth year or fifth year of an outbreak of zombies like that, it doesn't make any sense for people to just be surviving. Unless it's something like Resident Evil with like relatively fast zombies. In that case, they would keep wrecking shit up. But with something like The Walking Dead, that slow zombies, it just doesn't make any sense for people to be still like feeling like they're still dealing with the initial fallout, even though it's been like a decade since it. It just doesn't make any sense. Next thing I've written down is, I like the code. I like this guy. And I already talked about why I like him, but in terms of the code, it's a code made out of walker skin, which is how he's able to walk amongst them without getting killed. And it's a cool idea. I like it. And it's just another way to employ the Whisperer tactic, I guess. Although probably cleaner than the Whisperer tactic. It's probably not necessarily as successful, because with the Whisperer tactic, you also hide from humans. The next thing I've written is, I hate her so much, and that is obviously in reference to the Asian lady who was just so annoying. I don't fault the actress or anything. I think the actress was fine. Like, I enjoyed the actress, but I hated the character so much. She was just so annoying, and constantly blamed the guy for everything. Like, he didn't do anything. He just was living on his own, and you intruded on his life, and then you fucking attack him for trying to save your life and prevent you from dying while trying to save your stupid, foolish friends who are already dead. The next thing I've written down is something that you are actually going to see in one of my next reviews, but why is this giving me such a Telltale Games vibe? For whatever reason, the final scene with Dr. Everett looking around the campsite of the Asian chicks' people, like the atmosphere, the way the walkers behaved, the way he was walking around. I don't know, it really felt like a scene from Telltale's The Walking Dead. And I kind of dig that because I love Telltale's The Walking Dead. And it's a shame that Telltale did Tales of the Walking Dead better than the fucking TV universe. Hell, Fear the Walking Dead did it better. And that is so annoying. That is the super annoying part. Because after watching Fear the Walking Dead Season 6 anthology format, and even Season 7's anthology format, that's kind of what I was hoping we would get with Tales of the Walking Dead. Those kind of deep emotional stories that you can't do in something like The Walking Dead because it's like an ongoing story. But when you don't have the limits of this has to carry over for a bunch of episodes, you can do so much more. Like, it frees you up so much more, and yet you instead do this stupid wacky shit. I'm not necessarily even against doing this wacky shit, but you shouldn't fucking call it Tales of the Walking Dead because that's not what it fucking is. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked. The next thing I've written is, I love the music in this one, and sadly I don't necessarily remember a particular moment where I felt that, but it was probably towards the end of the episode, so that's because that's where I've written it, but I'm gonna say that it's somewhere around there, but definitely it was more noticeable in this episode, the ambience being like the insects and stuff, and I like that. Like, I like the music, and I like the ambience of insects, but I feel like just there's no reason why you have to overwhelmingly use one or the other. I feel like mixing both of them is probably the best way to go about it, you know? And the final thing that I wrote down when it came to this episode is, you got what you deserve. And that is in reference to the lady dying. And she fucking deserves that. She was super annoying. She intruded on this guy's life. She ended up killing the walker that he was taking care of and following and studying. So she interfered with his study and then made him look like the asshole. Or at least acted as if he was the asshole, despite the fact that he helped her when she was feeling super fucking sick. Even though he didn't have to. He let her stay in his cabin even though he didn't have to. And yet she was still whiny all the time. And critical. It was so annoying. But yeah, overall, I think I enjoyed this episode. It was a cool concept. Kind of an underwhelming execution, but overall I was satisfied with the actors. Like, that's the thing about the show. Even when I enjoyed despite its faults, not because of its faults. Or I enjoyed despite of its wackiness, not because of it. I don't understand why they went for this kind of stupid, like, basically, are you afraid of the dark? Or American Horror Story style of anthology for this. Like, who asked for this? Who is a Walking Dead fan asked for a completely disconnected genre of stories being shoved into The Walking Dead? I'm pretty sure when we heard anything about Tales of the Walking Dead, we were all into the idea of one-off self-contained stories about new or existing characters. You could have taken one episode and done something with the stupid cliffhanger, or should I say a post-credit scene in World Beyond. You could have done that instead of doing a dumb episode about Terry Crews, which was boring. And even the episodes that are fun, like the Groundhog Day one, it barely constitutes a Walking Dead episode. You could easily have the episode be almost exactly the same and remove any reference to The Walking Dead, and it would still work. That's the issue. That sure, episodes like that are kind of better. Like, more entertaining at least. But there's barely anything that makes them part of the Walking Dead universe, and it honestly kind of feels like it hinders them in many ways. But yeah, I don't know. In terms of a rating for this one, I think I'm gonna go with a 7.8 out of 10. It was decently enjoyable. Could have been better, should have been better, but it wasn't, so what can you do? But I am curious, what did you guys think about this episode? So comment your thoughts down below and let's have a discussion about this. And also, before we end this video, I just want to give a huge shout out to my currently 9 patrons on Patreon. Omar Bridgman, Deadpool, Corby Dead, Hotshot Ninja, Etsap123, Soap93160, Tia Rose Gelatly, Casey McNatt, and Alex C0520. Thank you guys for your support. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot to me that you have decided to support me. You have continued to support me such a long time. Hope you continue to enjoy my content and continue to support me going forward. Thank you very much. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Also, check out the description to my Wattpad where I post my stories. Because in addition to doing all these videos on my channel, I'm also a writer. And if you don't enjoy my stories or simply enjoy my videos, you can head over to my Patreon or to my Ko-fi account where you can pledge your support and help get the channel going, help support me so I can keep writing stories you enjoy. But if you don't want to do it, that's completely fine. You can still help me out in other ways like liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and especially sharing this video with somebody who you think might enjoy it. And I think it's pretty much it for this video, so hopefully I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye!